So, as the political battle on immigration rages on, there are new records being set at the border. More than 2 million arrests and encounters have been made this year alone. We're going to speak to a Texas lawmaker about solutions next. A record number of migrants are trying to cross the southern U.S. border. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, agents have encountered or arrested more than 2 million migrants this fiscal year alone, which breaks previous records. Officials say an influx of desperate people from Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba are driving the numbers up. Lawyers for one group of migrants, the ones recently flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard, say their clients were duped into traveling under false pretenses. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis defends the flights and vows to continue sending migrants from Texas to Democrat-run cities and states. Moments ago, we learned that Delaware is now preparing for possible migrant arrivals after reports of a new flight from San Antonio. Let's bring in Congresswoman Veronica Escobar. She's a Democrat from Texas. Her district borders Mexico. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. I know you're here to talk about solutions, which of course are desperately needed, but let's just spell out the problem first. So we have a bar graph of what this year looks like compared to recent years. And you can see it has just gone way up in terms of encounters that the Customs and Border Patrol agents are having at the border. As we said, more than 2 million migrants this fiscal year alone. Do you consider this a crisis?
Well, Allison, thanks so much for having me on. And I think it's really important for the American public to know that since Title 42 was put in place under the Trump administration, the policy to rapidly expel migrants, that means that 2 million encounters is not necessarily 2 million people. It's how many times people have attempted to cross the border and have been encountered. So about 30 to 40% of those are repeat attempts.
And is that, is that comforting? Is that better than?
No. And I will say that doesn't mean that this is not unsustainable. That doesn't mean that this is a significant challenge. I think it's really important, though, that we understand what is really going on and what are the policies that exacerbate the issue. But here is what's happening. In El Paso, for example, we have gone from seeing Central American refugees to seeing Haitian refugees to now really mostly Venezuelan refugees, all of whom, or most of whom, are applying for asylum, which is legal. But the system was not set up to deal with this many people all at once. And so we have to focus on solutions. I know my Republican colleagues prefer to simply complain about it, but my view is there's a lot of work that has been done under the Biden administration. It's going to take some time for it to bear fruit, but there is so much more that needs to be done, and that work starts with Congress.
So let's talk about that. Yes, let's talk about that, because I know that a year ago you introduced the Reimagining Asylum Processing Act. And that's for migrants seeking political asylum, like so many of these are now. And basically, as I understand it, it would create more processing centers for people seeking asylum. But how would that help? I mean, the feeling of being Customs and Border Patrol agents feeling overrun and people in border states feeling overrun. And wouldn't Republican critics just say you're incentivizing more people by making it easier to seek asylum?
I'll start by addressing that last part first, Allison. We have, as a country, built walls, separated families under the Trump administration, rapidly expelled migrants. Nothing has slowed things down or eliminated migration. So for the last couple of decades, we've tried it the Republican way, our country has, by addressing migration solely at the border. That has been an absolute failure of policy and imagination. So we need a multifaceted approach, and my bill is but one facet of what we need to do. We need to change the way we process people at the border. Right now, it is mostly, these processing centers are mostly run by Border Patrol agents, taking them off the line, taking them away from the roles and responsibilities they were trained to do in order to care for vulnerable populations. My bill would get them back to their job and replace them in these processing centers with federal civilian personnel. I think it's a really common sense approach that helps address morale and helps get Border Patrol agents back to doing the work that they need to do. But we need to do more than just that. We have, over the last 30 years as a country, tried it the Republican way, and we've shrunken legal pathways. When you shrink or eliminate legal pathways, you're going to see more irregular migration. So Congress needs to reform outdated laws. Also, we need to do in-country processing so that vulnerable populations aren't coming to our nation's front door in order to seek asylum. We had in-country processing. It was eliminated by the Trump administration. We need to reinstate that. So there are lots of different things we have to do, Allison, and we can accomplish those in the House with our Democratic majority, but there aren't enough Democrats in the Senate to have a true majority. And for Republicans, they want to see as much misery as possible so that they can run on it during election season.
Thank you for suggesting these solutions that I know you've been working on. Obviously, this is not going away, and we'll continue to explore it. Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, thanks for your time.
Thank you.